Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a Sims 4 building video. This build is going to be used in my upcoming Let's Play, and then there were none. If you saw, I just went through here and got some of the traits for the lot. I went with Haunted, Creepy Crawlies, and Private Dwelling. So Haunted will make it so that ghosts appear on the lot, which is just creepy and fun. And Creepy Crawlies will make it so that there will be like spiders and bats in the house, which is also fun and just adds an extra level of danger. And then Private Dwelling will make it so that nobody will come to the lot autonomously. No like NPC Sims or anything like that. I thought those were perfect traits for this lot because that's exactly what I want this house to be, since we're going for an and then there were none kind of feel. I also renamed it to Deadgrass Manor. It's on the island in Brindleton Bay where the Deadgrass Discoveries Museum used to be located. But I wanted a really private lot, and I loved that this lot was on an island. There's a cemetery on the island. There's lots of trails and outdoor spaces, which can lead to some interesting interactions. There's also a cool lighthouse, so there are a few cool things that they could do. And it's kind of like the book because there's no way to get off the island, so I wanted it to have that kind of feel. You'll notice that we're making these cages in the back, these fenced-in areas with some locked doors. Those will be included. I wanted to go with a smaller lot too because this series is going to be a combination of the Hunger Games series and then there were none book. That was hard to say. That was like a tongue twister. So in the Hunger Games series, your Sims basically have to survive until only one is left, and then there's a bunch of series of challenges that they go through to figure that out. And the point of that series is that it's difficult for these Sims to live because there's not enough amenities for all 8 of them. So I definitely wanted to make sure that the house was small but looked really grand. So it's small in that it would only be meant for a handful of Sims, and yet we have 8 Sims living here. So that's what I wanted to go for. Just kind of doing the layout here. It starts out pretty simple. I do add a few more architectural details on the outside as we go along. I wanted to really go for a Gothic manor kind of feel. So it's a very creepy house. It's a very just kind of dark location, and once we start adding colors to it, you'll start to see how that creepy aesthetic goes. And I definitely wanted to do towers because I just love towers on houses. They look so romantic and they just evoke all sorts of really cool feelings for me that I like to get from literature and from games. So I definitely wanted to do the towers in the front. I do like, too, how the fencing, I originally wanted to go with kind of like a wrought iron fencing that was really creepy and had these cool spires, but then I realized that people would be able to see inside the lot, and I definitely didn't want that. So I went with that thicker fencing on the outside that you can't see through. Doing a little bit of roofing here. Roofing has always been something that I find tricky, but I do end up liking how it turned out here. And then I'm doing these little alcoves, these little cutouts, just to give the build itself a little bit more architectural detail. I'm using a lot of build items from the Vampire Stuff Pack, Vampire Game Pack. It's a great pack if you really want to make mansions or really old houses, Victorian style, all of that. It's really good for all of that. And it ended up working out perfectly for this game because I wanted a dark Gothic aesthetic. So I've got all the fencing around here, just going for that very consistent dark look. Lots of really dark browns and black coloring for the woods and the metals. I'm doing the outside first, and then we'll move on to the inside. So yeah, this is the house where all 8 of the Sims are going to be living together. It'll be interesting to see how they end up at the island because there is no way off. I haven't quite decided yet if I'm going to lock them into the house or if I'm going to let them wander around on the island a little bit more. It might be kind of fun to let them wander around the island because there's just interesting things to see. There's the lighthouse where they can have some interesting romantic interactions if that were to happen with any of the characters. The pet cemetery might be interesting as well. But at the same time, I don't want them to escape the house, you know. That's the point of this, is that they are locked, at least in the house, if not on the island. You should let me know in the comments what you think about whether or not they should be allowed to wander around the island. I'd be curious to get your input there. Starting to get some of the coloring going a little bit more. The really dark brick on the bottom with the black outline I thought looked really cool. I was going to go with a black brick, but then it was too much. I needed a little bit more contrast, so I went with kind of like this dark gray brick, which ended up looking really cool. Sometimes I will do brick and then a mixture of brick and siding, but with this one I thought just having all brick made more sense. It just seemed to work better for that, for the build. And then I went through a little bit of time trying to figure out which windows to use. I wanted the towers to have full windows, just because it's really pretty looking. I was trying to decide between those two windows and ended up liking this one. And again, it's mostly vampire game pack items. Lots of stuff from the vampire game pack. No vampires, just a lot of stuff from the game pack. Oh yeah, and I realized I missed the roof there. I was trying to figure out if I could get that little white chunk of roof to go away. I really wish we could color like the ceilings and the roofs. That would be nice. And then a couple places where I missed the brick. Wanted to make sure that didn't happen. And then just doing all of the windows on the towers. This is one of my favorite styles of architecture. I love Gothic and Victorian design. It just looks so mysterious, and obviously with Nancy Drew and everything, mysteries are some of my favorite things. And I realized when I was doing this that the right side of the house was one slot wider than the left side of the house, so I had to take a little bit of time here to kind of slide everything over. Thankfully, it wasn't as hard as I expected it to be. With the sliding system that The Sims 4 uses, it was able to bring along most of the it brought along the walls and the brick and the windows and everything, so I didn't have to change too much. I just had to slide things around a little bit, so then it was nice and symmetrical. It would have bothered me so much if it wasn't symmetrical. Just that kind of person. So yeah, it's starting to come together now. We've really basically got the coloring done. Got to move that roof over so it's stable. And then I think next we end up doing the... Oh yeah, we try to figure out the doors here. I wanted a door leading out onto each little balcony. You can't really sit on the balcony or anything, but it lets you go outside. And in mysteries like this, I feel like there's always the danger of falling off that balcony. That's not a thing that can happen in The Sims 4. It'd be kind of cool if it was. So that won't be happening, but I wanted that kind of feel, that this house is kind of dangerous. It's supposed to feel very foreboding, especially since they're trapped here. I think it'll feel foreboding anyway, just because they can't leave, and that's kind of creepy, but I like it. Tried out a few of the jungle adventure tiles. I like how they look a little bit worn, so I wanted to use those for all of the walkways. I wanted the house to look like it was abandoned, but it has only been abandoned recently. Like, there isn't any vines growing on the house as of yet. The garden is overgrown, but everything else is pretty pristine. So it's like somebody was just living in this house and is not right now, but it hasn't been long since somebody moved out. So it's kind of interesting who actually owns Deadgrass Manor and who is behind all of the mysterious goings-on that will be happening. Starting to do some landscaping here. I love these dry rose bushes that came with the vampire pack. They are just so perfect for making overgrown and kind of decrepit gardens that still look really beautiful. I actually really like it when gardens are overgrown. I think it's cool to see what nature does all on its own. I love to see that. So I think it was I had a lot of fun doing the landscaping here, and I wanted to do these kind of dark, creepy fountains too. So I put one of these on each side. I'm just doing this first one now. The sound of bubbling water when everything else is quiet is kind of creepy. It's just a little bit of background noise that the Sims could hear while they're walking around outside or walking around on the grounds, though there isn't a lot of room to actually walk around. Added a little bit. Again, I wanted it to look a little bit overgrown, so now there's some algae growing in the fountains. I wanted to put this creepy statue here. Again, from the Vampires game pack. All sorts of good stuff. The statues are different on each side, though. Thought about using this one, but it wasn't quite right. I liked these vampire ones a little bit more. They just looked a little more fancy than the Jungle Adventure stand did. So I put the Dark Fairy on this side and then used the copy tool to move the fountain over to the other side. I love that copy tool. It is so nice when you're building mansions or really elegant homes because everything is typically symmetrical in those homes. I am also using the Move Objects cheat, bb.moveobjectsOn, in order to overlap items. And if you hold down Alt, it lets you move the grasses around to get them so they won't snap to the grid, which is nice for building. I did this little pathway along the fountains here, and I just, again, wanted to make the grass look really overgrown. So I used this grass object all over the front yard and just overlapped them to make it look like there's just really tall grasses, and the lawn hasn't been mowed in a really long time. I thought about doing it along the side here, but it was hard to get it to lay just right. And then I have these kind of wildflowers. I wanted them to kind of look like dandelions and weeds just poking up all over in the grass, overlapping the yellow and the white ones. I do end up loving how it turned out. I think it looks really fun, really cool. And I could definitely see like someone walking into this house kind of feeling a little like something's amiss. Something's not quite right. You've got this overgrown garden, this decrepit garden, but then you've got this house that's looking like it's in really good repair. It's just everything doesn't quite match up, which is what I love about designing creepy houses like this kind of manor feel. It's really not a very big house. Like, honestly, only if I were to have a family living here, it would probably fit a family of 4, maybe at most, depending on how many kids you can squeeze into a bedroom, because there's technically only 2 bedrooms, and only one bedroom is used as an actual bedroom. The other is used as a skill building room, but we'll see that later. Putting in some of these creepy trees here. I imagined that this would take place sort of around autumn, which might be why the trees are losing some of their leaves, but also might just be because it's a really creepy house. And then I'm adding the locked gate here. These gated areas will be used for challenges, and that will be explained a little bit more in the rules in the very first episode, so we will see that. It'll be kind of cool. Hopefully it'll be kind of cool. I'm really excited to start recording all of that. We have a little cemetery here. Wanted to do the gravestones and then put this creepy statue in the middle. Do enjoy how that ended up looking. I mean, what is a creepy house without its own creepy graveyard? Getting lots of Ghost of Thornton Hall vibes from this graveyard, which I love. And then I made these little plots here, as though there are gravestones missing. 8 to be specific. Interpret that how you will. We've got our more of these rose bushes because I love them and they're so creepy. And then the tall grasses. It also just prevents the Sims from walking around too much. I would imagine that the point of this home would be to restrict the movement of the people that are here, which is kind of a creepy idea. Even if you aren't actually restricted, I think the human mind would feel so restricted that it would start to get nervous, which is definitely the point of whoever is orchestrating this whole deal. They want the people that are trapped in here to feel helpless. Making these little tower rooms here. The tower rooms will come into play in a little bit, and I'll tell you what'll be going on with that. So now I think we're moving on to the furnishing now. Yeah, we're moving on to the interior of the house. That's the exterior of the house pretty much done. I do like that it was a smaller lot, so it made it a little bit more manageable than if it was a really huge lot. I would have had to do a lot more landscaping. I enjoy landscaping, but it can take a long time. I wanted to do brick on this centerpiece, or center hallway, just because it's a little darker, a little scarier looking. It looks a little bit more like what you would think of in a haunted house or something like that. And I definitely wanted to do lots of candles. These aren't, like, they don't have fire on them or anything. I would have loved it if they did, if they were actual candles. They're just candles that came from, I believe, Get Together. just for that old feel and that very creepy feel. And then I wanted to do a center rug all the way down here. So there's the front entrance to the house and the back entrance of the house, and there's really no other way that you can get around, which makes it kind of fun. And then I think we end up putting some just little side tables in here, just some decoration. Went with kind of the torn up, what are those called? It's not a tablecloth. I guess just the torn up covers or cloths or whatever, because they aren't tables. And then I wanted to put these architectural pictures above the side tables here, because that kind of made me think, like, if they look at the pictures, they'll get a better idea of what's actually in the house. So that was my idea with these, is that these pictures are actually blueprints of Deadgrass Manor, of this manor that they are currently, or that they will be living in. They are not moved in yet. There will be a whole little sequence for that. Lots of books. There is no technology in this house, no electronic technology, no TVs or computers or anything. So they are going to have to get their fun from alternate means. And really the only ways they'll be able to do that is by playing on the chess table or by reading. So I wanted it to, again, feel kind of off the grid, make them feel a little bit helpless, because if something was going wrong, usually you would just call somebody. But there's no phone, there's no internet, there's no way to get into contact with the outside world. So they really are left to their own devices. I went with this vampire wallpaper, and then I wanted to section off the kitchen a little bit. So this side is going to be the kitchen and the dining room. And we're starting with the kitchen first. The flooring is actually from the Spooky Stuff pack, and so were the side tables with that black tattered cloth. So I did use a little bit of stuff from the Spooky Stuff pack as well, which I feel like works out pretty well for the design that we're trying to go for here. Ended up going with the vampire cabinets. And the cabinets are not in disrepair either. So it's very specific things about the house that are kind of going to pieces, and there's other parts of the house that absolutely are not going to pieces. So I don't know, maybe there's a clue in that somewhere. Have to think about that. I wanted it to feel very old, so I was trying to look for some of kind of like the Victorian stove hoods here, and then doing the cabinetry. I liked the green. I wish it did look a little bit more run down than they do. I mean, they still look pretty new, but I think the coloring was nice. I thought about just continuing to do darker woods, but it was nice to add a little bit of color into this as well. Had fun doing some of the cabinets, making some of them longer. If you don't know, you can click on the color swatches for the cabinets, and that will open up different types of cabinets that you can use. It took me a while playing The Sims 4 before I realized that that was an option. Putting in some clutter items, a little bit of decor. Tried to do as many old-fashioned ones as I could. Like, I thought the washing board was really old-fashioned, just pots and pans. Kind of the old pitcher with the wooden spoons and everything. Had to take a little sip of water there. Can't get dehydrated. I liked this idea too. I have the knife block there. And then I think after I pick out this sink, I start looking for, the wall items. And there was a very specific one that I wanted to use. I was trying to get the soap to fit on the counter here without clipping into the sink. And eventually I moved the counter away and used bb.moveObjectsOn and Alt to kind of slide it into the corner there. That's a little trick if you want to try and get something onto a counter or get more items onto a counter. Move it out of the way, put the item on the counter, and then move the counter out of the way so that the object is still at the correct height, but then you have a little more freedom for moving it around. I wanted to have these herbs on here. I thought that just seemed very kind of old-fashioned. A nice little rug at the... Did I put the wall object up? Maybe I'm still looking for it. I don't know. Maybe I was just like, oh, I need to put the table in now. I wanted a big, grand dining table that would fit all 8 of the Sims at once. I think in a lot of movies and plays and whatnot that are all inspired by And Then There Were None, there's always like that dinner scene where they kind of learn what's going on, or they get at least a basic idea of what's going on. They don't really figure out what's going on until the very end. But I wanted to have a big grand table where it looks like they could have that kind of moment. And then I was looking for some good art to use here. And then I thought about using these smaller paintings from, again, Vampire Stuff Pack. Oh, no, wait, those are Spooky Stuff. Totally forgot that Spooky Stuff. That is from Get Together, which also has some kind of like old world feel to it, because all of the style in that is kind of old European and kind of Tudor style homes, which also is very similar kind of to the Gothic look that I was trying to go for. I was trying to find some good curtains here, and I realized I had that one window a little too low, so I fixed that. But I just wanted something more on the walls because it seemed a little too dark. But I didn't want it to seem bright either. It still needed to seem kind of old and tattered. I think did I end up going with these curtains? Yeah, in this like dark brown green color, which I would never use in a real house. But for this house, I think it works out well just for the creepy look that we're going. This house is like the version of my style this is like the original version of my style. I do really like old-fashioned styles, but with a modern kind of rustic twist. This is definitely too Gothic for my personal style, but I think it works really well for this house. You should let me know in the comments down below kind of what you think of this style of housing, the Gothic style, or what your favorite styles are for houses. I do love building in The Sims 4. I think it's a lot of fun. I get inspired by it often. Trying to find one of the nice little window seats here. We've got so many cool ones now. I think there's 3 to choose from of this just bay window seat, which is so cool. And it fits perfectly in our little tower space. And then just finding some more art and some more decorations for these little side tables. Usually I would fill in empty spaces with things for the Sims to do. But in this one, I wanted it to be more decorative. See, we got that like old teapot or old coffee pot. I love using the radiators. I feel like I don't get to use the radiators often enough, and I kind of forget about them sometimes, but they are such a great decorative item. They just add so much realism to a house. I have a feeling that in this house, though, they will be broken. I have a feeling they will not function properly. I wonder, because in the new Seasons pack that's coming out, you can change the temperature using a thermostat inside. I wonder if we could, when Seasons comes out, have that happening in the house, but have the thermostat be malfunctioning. So it's like the radiator itself isn't working, and that's why the house is like colder than it should be, because it's supposed to be taking place in fall. And that's probably, once I do get Seasons, that's probably the season that I'll set this world to right away, is just autumn. That is my favorite season. What is your favorite season? Leave that in the comments down below too. I just love the colors of autumn, those warm colors, and I love just all of the food and that feeling of it's time to cuddle up with a nice warm blanket and snuggle down with a book. It's really just the feeling of autumn that I love. And I do love the weather too. I get really tired when it's really hot weather. It's just really hard to move around and maintain the same amount of energy. In cool weather, I think it's a lot easier, but not when it's so cold that you feel like you can't move, like you're frozen stiff. So I would say I like spring as well, but spring in Minnesota is not an enjoyable time. It is mud season and second winter and third winter. It's not a good time. Spring is my least favorite season by far. I think if there were places where it was actually spring, I would like it a lot more. You know, like when you see spring in the movies where there's flowers and nice gentle rainstorms and there's actually rain in April and April showers do actually bring May flowers. Like if that was actually the thing, then I think I'd enjoy it, but that's not how it works in Minnesota. Yeah. So doing the little living room here, again, I wanted to do a little bit more color so the whole thing wasn't drab. It needed to feel elegant still. I didn't want it to feel like totally a haunted house. It did need to feel habitable. So I went with the purple color scheme, base game chairs there, and then some of the Vampire Stuff Pack lounge chaises. I guess they do kind of look like a chaise lounge. I don't know if that's how you say that, but I'm pretty sure it is. A nice little globe. I went with a kind of an old-fashioned tea set. And then the old camera. I love that. It might be kind of fun to take pictures of all of the the characters doing their own thing in the house. Went with these magenta curtains just to have, again, more color, especially on this side of the house. It's supposed to feel lived in. It's not supposed to be totally drab. And I do like how the lady of the house, her picture is on that side. And they're pretty old pictures, and this is supposed to be taking place in modern times. So, I mean, the people that are pictured probably are not the current owners of the house, but they might be, I don't know, maybe ghosts or something. Who knows? We do have the haunted lot trait here. I love those rose pictures, and I feel like I don't get to use them enough because they're so dark and they fit a very specific look, but they work perfectly here. And I had to put in another radiator because it's awesome. And then this creepy tome. I love this object too, and it's another one that I feel like I don't get to use enough, but I think it worked really nicely here. I'm not sure what it would be for this house. Maybe it's like a log book, so all of the unfortunate people that have to come here have to sign their names in there. And then here's a little chess table. They did need some items for fun, but there's not a lot. When you think about the fact that there are going to be 8 people living in this house, at least at the very start, that's going to make it really tricky for them to get a lot of their needs met. Because there is only one bathroom, which means there's only one toilet. There's a bathtub, not even a shower, which takes a little bit longer. And there's only one bed. So that's kind of the Hunger Games aspect of this, is that the resources are small. And you might see we're putting in a sneaky little bookshelf door there into the tower rooms. I'll talk about those when I actually furnish them. But anyway, there are the chaise lounges and the bay windows. So there's the 2 couches and then the 2 bay windows. So that means there's 4 places for Sims to logically nap. So they could get sleep that way, but there is only one bed. So there's only one place where they will get full energy. And the Sims often are not super smart. Like they will often choose to nap rather than actually sleep in a bed. So I'll be curious to see, because autonomy is going to be on full, I'll be really curious to see which of our 8 characters is going to be smart and go for the bed. I am really interested to see which character it is. I mean, some of our characters are pretty intelligent. I mean, we've got Professor Hotchkiss, who is a genius, so you'd think she would want to go for the bed, but she's also kind of erratic and kooky, so maybe she'll just be so engrossed in this house and the mystery going on that she'll forget to take care of herself. But the Sims taking care of themselves is going to be an extremely important part in their success. So we'll have to see how long they last. It'll be very interesting. Was this the point where I realized that I forgot a bathroom? No, I don't think I realized that I forgot the bathroom until the very end. But we do end up squeezing the bathroom into the bedroom here. So it's just kind of an ensuite. Which normally wouldn't be a great floor plan. But I think for a house that would only be fit for like 2 people, really. Like maybe this is a country house or something. Okay, now we're doing the secret rooms here. The secret tower room. This one is going to have a secret bed, and the other one is going to have a secret refrigerator. Because at some point in this series, their sleeping supply and their food supply is going to be mysteriously cut off. And only one person can have access to these secret rooms. So the first person to actually autonomously go into these rooms, meaning that they figured out that it's a secret room and they found it with the bookcase, the first person that figures it out is the only one who will get access to that room. I will lock access for everyone else, so they have that advantage. If they go exploring right away and they find that secret space, then that helpful item is theirs. If they do happen to be eliminated, the ones that have the secret room, then whoever finds it next will get it. It'll kind of be passed on to whoever finds it next. This room we were doing kind of a skill building room. I had that meditation stool just to help them calm their minds in this very stressful environment. There's an art easel, and some of these skill building items do provide fun as well. And they'll also be important for some of the challenges for getting advantages. I wanted to have a nice big rug in the middle here. I ended up going with, I think this was the laundry day one, or is that the kids' stuff? No, I think that's laundry day. I love the laundry day stuff pack. The rustic kind of country aesthetic is so my taste. I love it. What did I put here? Oh yeah, I think I go for a punching bag here to get a little bit of athletic skill. Again, all of the skill building items are going to be important. I thought about putting benches out here on the balcony, but then that would have given them another place to sleep, and I did not want everybody to have a place to sleep. That's part of the point, is that they are going to be stretched a little bit. And here's me remembering to put in a bathroom, because it totally wasn't there at first, which would have been kind of sad. They would have really struggled if there wasn't a bathroom. And I didn't want to put in a full shower, so we just went with a tub. In older houses, they did not have showers. Showers weren't a thing for a long time. There's a really big local house near where I live that used to be kind of like a really fancy mansion, and they talked about how showers weren't used by women for a really long time because it was believed to be too rough for their delicate skin. So women weren't allowed to shower, even though showers were invented way before women started using them. It was such a just interesting factoid. We can't handle the powerful rays of the shower jets. So funny. Okay, so I think that's the bathroom done, just kind of moving things around. I was checking on the layout to see if there was anything else I wanted to add, but I don't think there was anything else besides just these trees in the front. I thought it needed a little bit of dimension with the trees, so I added a couple in at the front there, just kind of those dead pine trees and that really big tall one. Oh, and I love this creepy, like, Sleepy Hollow type tree. It did poke through the walls, but I kind of liked that. Oh, I love how it looks at evening. Not evening, dusk. And then I put some outdoor lights just to give it kind of a creepy glow at the entrance. I thought about putting more, but I liked how dark it was. This is definitely my favorite view of the house at this dusk time. I think it's so creepy, and that's probably when most of the creepiness is going to happen, is at dusk. Okay, and I think we're moving into the screenshots here. So I took a few pictures of the outside of the house during the day, and then at the very end I'll show you some pictures of the house at night. So here's the exterior, creepy fountain with that gargoyle sitting there. Love it. The inside, so you can see the kitchen and the dining room. Some more of the kitchen. The dining room. Just some different views of some of the same rooms. The living room here, the living space in its purple glory, purple and magenta. The big fireplace. The fireplace can set things on fire too. If they do things that are dangerous by themselves, I'm not allowed to stop them. That they'll just be they're up to their own devices. I cannot save anyone from perishing. And then the skills room here, and then I think, oh yeah, I loved this look out to the cemetery from the window. I thought that was so creepy. I love it. And then the cemetery during the daytime. And then we'll go into some screenshots of night. So I'm super excited to start filming the parts for this series. Please let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and any thoughts that you have. I'd be so curious to hear what you think. I just can't wait to get started. It's going to be a mixture of autonomous Sims with a little bit of storytelling mixed in as well. I think it'll take a little bit of time to get all that set up, but I'm so excited to see how it'll go. Oh, and then there, yeah, a picture of the lighthouse with the moon in the back. It's so creepy. Thanks for watching.